while. All of our holidays and special days have been on stream days. Not to say it makes streaming impossible, but excuse me. I made a conscious effort to take a little bit of a break for this past week or so, and it's been good. And we're live. Hope you all have been having great holidays as well. Take a little bit of time to relax or not relax. I would say whatever floats your boat. I know for some people, they really enjoy chilling out. We do a yearly tradition of making a 2,000 piece puzzle. So Phil and I put together 2,000 pieces. It took us about 2 days. And that's very much just zoning out, checking out, and enjoying the fun, just flow state, I would say, of getting into the puzzle, looking at the box, putting the pieces. It's very meditative. So that's fun for us, playing a lot of video games, reading books. That's what we do for our holiday. Gameout just says it's a magic kind of evening. I should have updated. Yeah, the stream title should be updated now. I realized that I had the thing happening. JK, it's board games. Design. Yeah, so that's very much our special place, is chilling at home, hanging out with some people, but keeping it pretty casual. I know for other people, really enjoy running around for the holidays, seeing everyone. So whatever it is that you most enjoy in your life, I hope that you have been able to do a good amount of that over the holidays. And I know not everyone gets time off, not everyone celebrates the holidays, but if not now, it's always good to find some time to take a step back, examine your life, see what's happening, soul search. That doesn't necessarily have to be the same time as relaxation. You know, you can relax without having to dig deep into your mentality. But for me, during pauses in life, because I don't do it a lot. I work a lot, I run around a lot, travel a lot. It's hard for me not to fill up my life with more and more stuff. So anytime that I step back, take a little bit of a break, I find myself, that's the time that I find out, oh yeah, why am I running around so much? Why is everything so crazy right now? So I made a conscious effort even to take a step back from design. So anything that's considered to be work, did not do over the past week or so. And it's been good. I feel relaxed. I feel refreshed. Went snowboarding yesterday. Bashed up my knee. Jacked it up real good, so that was fun. A little bit stiff-kneed now, but it wasn't too bad. I'm lucky. Snowboard injury. I was talking to a woman on the drive home at a coffee shop who said she'd broken her arm last time she went snowboarding. So I'm thankful that I did not do that. Just a little bit of a bump. Hello, Senior Bob. Great to see you again. You too, game biologist. Thanks everyone for tuning in to today's stream. So what are we doing for today's stream? Man, talking about the future, goals, hashtag life goals. Gonna do a little bit of a brainstorm. Recently we have been, I've been working at the beginning of the streams on some of my in-progress games, but like I said, I've taken a break from game design for the past week, which I do not feel bad about. It's good to take a break once in a while. I'm excited to get back. Maybe, yeah, I'll get back into working. I have some stuff to take care of as well. Over the next few days. I'm trying to, so my goals, it's funny, I said I've completely taken a vacation, taken a break from every kind of working thing. Of course, it's hard to take a complete break, so I've also been working through the Chaos to Creativity book, which is about creating systems, simplifying your life. Phil got me the Marie Kondo, the life-changing magic of tidying up, whatever the book is called. So I threw away most of my clothes, so it's been fun. It sounds dramatic, but it doesn't spark joy. This is the book that caused a little bit of a kerfluffle, maybe a year ago, half a year ago? Not quite recently. But it was all over the Twitterverse of, I can't throw things away, you crazy person, what are you doing? But for me, I started doing it, and I'm looking forward to cutting out and simplifying some things so I can really focus on things that are important to me, such as game design, work on projects that spark joy, because you can use the process for physical items or for psychological, emotional items. We all have these goals, and this is very appropriate talk for, is it January 31st, right here on New Year's Eve. It's good to take some time to think about, all these goals, all these things I want to do, all these things I've planned, all these volunteer activities that I'm doing, all the different places that are taking my time and energy. Are those still working for me? Are those still valuable for me? Especially, I think, if you're trying to accomplish really big goals, if you're doing creative things, that energy becomes very precious. And you really need to hone and make sure that you're spending your time in the right places. Something really great Phil said to me recently, because I was talking about all the things that I wanted to do, all the ways I was spending my time. And he reminded me that if you spend your time on one thing, you can't spend that same time on another thing. I have this weird thing in the back of my brain with if I just try hard enough, I can squeeze more and more activities into each day. But time is finite, and anything that you spend your time on, that's time that could have been used for another activity. So I think that it's really important to take some time to think about how you're spending your time. This is what I've been doing, and it's an ongoing process too. It's not something set it and forget it, where you just figure out your life goals and your life path and just shoot off down the road. It's something that you do a little bit at a time, keep coming back to, make a small change, and then see how that's redirecting your course. I think with the Marie Kondo book as well, she does say for cleaning up, you get rid of everything at once. If you spread it out over too long, you can't see the effects. Whereas if you do your whole closet all in one day or over the course of a couple of days, then it really hits you in the face. It's very dramatic. But for repopulating the things, for buying clothes to replace the ones that you had gotten rid of, or for hobby supplies, it's good to, it's hard too. I have one pair of pants. I need to go out and shop. But I'm seeing the intention here with, you don't need to refill your life up really fast after you've made some space in it. It's good to do a little bit, put a little bit back in there, see how that works, see how you feel, and go on from there. Happy New Year's, everyone. By the way, I want to draw some fireworks here. Hope you all have had a lovely year, a lovely decade, right? That's the big thing now. Everyone's like, it's the end of a decade. Not to stress anyone out. I know some people, that puts a lot of pressure on people, right? Some people like looking back and thinking about all the things that they achieved. Other people, not so much. So whatever suits you, whatever you want to do, makes you feel good. I hope your life has a lot of that. Yeah, we should talk about some game design. We should think about ideas and inspirations. Maybe some potential new things that we can talk about or work on. Especially on Twitter, I've been talking about Nemesis and Nemesis. So I think it was Senior Bob had said that could be a good inspiration for our mind map for today. I say we'll keep it fun, keep it casual, not get too bogged down in what things are going to be. The intention for today's stream is just get those juices flowing, get some fun ideas out there. Probably not go super long because it is New Year's Eve. I know people might want to do stuff. I got stuff to do, so yeah. All right, back to the chat. Gameologist, I spent the weekend watching The Witcher. Yeah, I've heard about this. The show titled after a dude where the female characters are more interesting and have larger roles than the title character. That sounds awesome. Senior Bob says, I actually picked up some storage container things to put game design bits in, so I've been working on that a bit. Yes! Senior Bob, I love that. Shoot out the... Did I ever post a picture of my wall? I think I posted it a long time ago, but I have little drawers with all the little different types of bits. One of the things in the book, I do recommend people check out the book. I found it very useful. There's a lot of stuff that I kind of railed against, but I think there's a lot of useful stuff as well. One of the things in the tidying up book is being careful of storage and getting too, like, shoving too many things into corners and boxes and piling things because you lose track of it. But I think from a work design perspective, it can be really good to store your stuff efficiently so you don't have to go digging through big piles to find things. Speaking of which, game idea the first. Board game design component storage organizing, or more broadly, putting things where they belong. Which is funny, I feel like that's a lot of board games out there, is where's the best place to put a worker placement, and where are the best places to put these resources. I think a lot of it scratches that organization and storage itch. But it'd be fun to play around with making it even a little more literal. Email just says, I released a copy of Twixt into the wild this past weekend to go home with friends. Nice. I picked up a couple copies at Gen Con last year and knew I know where the right home for them appeared. What is Twixt? I haven't actually heard of that one. It is a creepy movie. Oh, fun. This is the... Wow, those are really cool components. Like, you're making... What? Oh, they have, like, little wrenches and standy bits. That's super cool. That's also good. It's good you release them, because it's... Piling up games can definitely be a thing where you just get them and have them, and that becomes your life. Like, once I get to the board game part of the Marie Kondo book, it's going to be interesting, because we have a lot that we got some games played, so that was good. We played Concordia. I bought Quirky Circuits for Phil for Christmas, and then we played it a couple days later, which was a huge achievement, because usually they go on the pile and don't get played for a long time, but we've been working a little harder on playing the games we want to play, which is good. Hi, welcome, Dos Meeps. We are talking about board game design ideas, and also life stuff. We're going to do a brainstorm in a little bit. Just started talking about some vague design ideas, and we'll hone in on those a little bit as we go. Senior Bob, question. Can you really design on a schedule? For me, no. Design is an evolutionary process that doesn't like being forced. Wait, you said, Senior Bobby said, wait, I did for the Nemesis thing? I felt like you did. Let me go back to my tweets. Oh, no, sorry. I think that was Game Biologist. Yeah. Sorry. It was Game Biologist, not Senior Bob. As far as designing on a schedule goes, it's my job now to design games. So not necessarily a schedule like I'm going to work on exactly, like in the calendar, I'm going to work on this game at this specific time. It's more like I need to carve out times to do all of the parts that go into game design. So parts like this, the stream, helps me with my ideation phases of game design. One of the things I want to focus more on is carving out time specifically for doing the grunt work of game design, because that's one thing that I could do better at is just butt in chair time, making a new prototype. There's a lot of phases where like I have to adjust some cards and then print out the cards and cut the cards and sleeve the cards, and that can be a little bit of a blocker because it's not super exciting, right? You know, you're sitting there sleeving cards. It's not bad, but for me, it's not the funnest and most exciting part of design. So as far as scheduling time goes, just making blocks of dedicated time to make sure that I keep the games flowing instead of having all these cool ideas being caught up. Senior Bob also says it actually wasn't that disastrous of a decade, coming up on 10 years of my current job. Congrats, Senior Bob. I hope that's a good 10 years. I've never been able to spend anywhere near 10 years at a job. It's usually more like 6 months or 2 years. But the game design thing is going pretty well so far. So hopefully that will be one that I can stick with. Game Ballard says, the inspiration part is impossible to schedule. It comes at the weirdest times, letting the problems, issues roll in the back of your head. Helps them show up. Absolutely. I mean, that's a huge part of it, is letting this stuff go back and just churn around your head, writing down ideas as soon as they come, because they come at weird times. So it's good to have a process for making sure you don't lose those great ideas. I'm going to write down process. Don't lose ideas. But then the parts that you can schedule are regular check-ins, weekly check-ins, but sometimes more frequently than that, to take all those ideas you have in different places and make sure you're doing the next steps. I think that's one of the most important parts that can fall down in the process is, oh, I have a really cool idea for this mechanic for my game. And you write that down and you don't always get that translated because, you know, often it's the middle of the night or you're in the car, so you can't immediately put it into work. But that's part of the Chaos to Creativity book, is taking the things in your brain, dumping them out every day, and then filtering them off into the places that they're supposed to go. And then you can make sure you don't lose anything or forget to do anything. I'm going to post the book again. I know I'd done it recently, but I wanted to repost since we're talking about it again. I found it very handy. Game biologist. I know people with nemesis, lots and lots of nemesis. This is how you can tell you've got the right kinds of friends. I didn't know the whole nemesis thing was a thing until people started talking about it at BGG-Con. And then I felt left out because everyone was talking about their nemesis. And I didn't have one. And now I do have a nemesis. The person who parks in my spot in the parking garage, which is totally not my personal spot. I have no claim or ownership of this particular spot, but it's the best spot. Easiest to park in. Parking in a parking garage is kind of a pain in the butt, especially when they give these little baby spaces. And half the spaces are next to these huge concrete pillars that are hard to navigate around. But the middle spots, So it's like pillar, pillar, spot, spot, and the beautiful middle spot where you can just pull right in there. This is the best spot. So of course, if it's open, someone goes in there, and this makes me sad because their car is there, and I can't put my card there. That's sad. Ooh. The efficiency itch. Nice. I don't know what that is. Designing game components and packaging feels a little bit like a high-pressure version of the game Get Packing. Yes, it's nice, but will it all fit? We'll have to check that one out, too. That's a more recent one, right? Sounds familiar. I think we had talked about that. Oh. Yeah, does it have a publication date on Amazon? Yeah. Oh, those components are so cool. Oh, it reminds me of this puzzle that I had as a kid. I'm going to keep Nemesis here, but we're talking about packing. So we're going to segue. Oh man, it's so weird too. I still remember the individual pieces of this puzzle because it was a suitcase puzzle. It was a kid's puzzle, maybe like 20 pieces or so, but really cool, nice wood chunky pieces. And it'd be like the beach ball. They had some edges around them usually, I think. Trying to remember exactly what it was like. The beach ball was an actual circular piece of the puzzle. And then the doll. It was weird stuff for a suitcase too. Usually when you travel, it's mostly clothes, right? But because this is a kid's puzzle, it's kids packing their suitcase, and it's mostly toys. So there would be it's a horse, a horse piece, and then like the doll piece here. But it reminds me a lot of this Get Packing puzzle because everything fits in perfectly. That's a very satisfying feel for a game. Yeah, there's something very satisfying about putting things back where they belong. It's interesting. I think one of the cool things about reading the Art of Tidying Up book is it helps to unpack a lot of our preconceptions about organization, storage, cleaning, tidying. Because a lot of people, I've heard this exact words very recently, don't like cleaning, don't like tidying up. And it's weird, right? Because a lot of people, especially a lot of hobbyist board gamers, when you get your million little baggies for all the different components, and you have your little trays, and sometimes the trays pull out and they're just the right size for the particular bits. Like little pieces of wood, coins, or whatever. Putting those away is pretty satisfying, like when everything has its place. Putting things away. Its place. And the reason why so many people dislike cleaning and tidying is that we have so much stuff that doesn't have a space. I'm not even going to show my desk here because it is a mess. Part of the reason that I need to keep reading the book and doing the processes because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have a home, and when stuff doesn't have a home, it's frustrating to tidy it because there's nowhere for it to go. All you can do is move it around or try and figure out a home for something. And if you have a lot of stuff, that takes a lot of time. This makes me think of homes for things. The reason we're digging into this is I think it's an interesting subject. And I don't know of a lot of games that specifically deal with items going back into their place. This packing game is a good one. So actually the components are really fun. It's like you're drafting the pieces maybe, and there's a few different shapes, trying to fit them into your personal suitcase, which is super fun. But I think I've been thinking a little bit about cleaning and tidying and organization as fodder for game design. I think there's something really fun and satisfying there. Even like decorating your home, finding homes for things, building a personal altar. There's been a few games like this recently. Yeah, not a ton. I think it's a space that can really be explored, but like floor. I'm like, is that a game? Like, I shouldn't talk about that if that's not a thing yet. Yeah. Yeah, the floor plan game, which is going to come out next year, from the looks of it, seems to be about organizing furniture in your home. I haven't had a chance to really get a close look or play the game yet, but that's got that same feel of organization and things having a place. It's very much like a puzzle too, like a physical puzzle. Place, you find the exact right place or best place. It's like a puzzle. Even like this is a roll and write. So like a lot of the roll and writes, Railroad Ink is one where you have the options of pictures you can draw on your board, and you're trying to find the right locations for all of these different junctions. 3M, tape, sticky notes, and board games. I mean, it's cool components. Gameball just says, I've never managed to pick up a Nemesis. I don't have the energy to maintain that kind of emotion for any length of time. Yeah, that could be a problem. I don't really dislike people at all. I mean, I can be temporarily annoyed, but for the most part, I don't have deep-seated hatred. It's not in my nature. So maintaining this whole Nemesis thing could be a little bit of a challenge. Gameball just says, when it comes to putting things away, there's the challenge of where does it go for new stuff. It makes you go back to your mental organization system, figure out where something belongs. Feng Shui turns the organization idea on its head from a Western perspective. Could be fun to play with the idea of what are the categories rules for how items and spaces are connected. I like that. I like all of the different pieces of that. Is there a Feng Shui board game? Question. I think that could be a really cool theme. There's a Feng Shui game pack from 1997. Oh, Feng Shui from Atlas Games. This is a newer one. Oh, there's a Feng Shui product line. Oh, there's a game about Feng Shui. I don't... Okay, I gotta post this. So Atlas Games has a Feng Shui game, but it's... the title picture is a person with a sword riding a car and people shooting guns and doing magic. So I don't think that's exactly what we're talking about with Feng Shui. oh man, feng shui, and then what was the game idea of the second? Feng shui, making rules for how to place or put things. It also makes me think of tarot in a slightly, say, tarot-esque, coming up with a, oracle divination system. Yeah, so if I was to make a game like this, I wouldn't do it about feng shui, because I wouldn't necessarily personally feel comfortable doing an existing system like that, especially one that's outside my culture, but I think you could do it in a culturally agnostic way, where you're just talking about energy flow through the house and what, maybe different materials will represent. Because I think there's something very fascinating there. Before I forget, let me make a couple of notes. Rules for how energy will flow. Rules for what different materials represent. I think there's something really fascinating about the histories of all these items, and altars, shrines. If you're making a fountain that's meant to bring you wealth and luck, there's different systems that put meaning to different metals, different precious stones. If you build a fountain and put a diamond in there, it will affect your, act as an amplifier. If you put gold in there, it'll bring you riches. Other items will bring you health. And there's a few different systems for this that treat different items in different ways. And this is because feng shui's got a little bit of the item mentality to it as well, because there's this idea of different locations and rooms for you to put plants, waterfalls to get the energy flowing. But it'd be cool to make up the rules for yourself. Water should go in the west corner of the house. Again, I wouldn't want it to be too close to actual feng shui, but it'd be cool to look at the card, to do it, to use your intuition. What feels good, what's encouraged by the mechanics of the game. So I could see a game like this having a really cool game feel to it. Where you're dealing with precious materials, with making things beautiful and peaceful. Things are bountiful. You're making things beautiful and peaceful and making energy flow. So there's even potentially a couple of different game ideas in there. Something more material-based, where you're categorizing items, and then actual energy flow game for, how does the air or a person move through a space. Air or a person, ghosts move through a space, whatever. There's a couple of different themes and directions you could go into that could feel fun with that. Visitor in Blackwood Grove dances around the edge of creating a new categorization system. I remember we had talked about that at a point. The name is very familiar. I remember looking at that a few months back. You call the game Fun Shui. Oh my god, I love it. The pun's great. I don't know if even I could get away with that. Fungus Way. Okay. And you know I want to make a mushroom game. Like, you are delving deep into my desire to make a game about mushrooms. Cool. So that was the feng shui one. And then with the tarot, I wanted to talk about this as well. Looking at different oracle divination decks. So I have to look this up to get my terminology right, but I would say that tarot is probably one of the most famous examples of a divination deck or oracle deck. It's a tool that you use to, say, predict the future. People use the tool in different ways, but to read a situation, to give advice to someone. Oh, tarot games, occasionally called tarot games, are card games played with tarot decks. That's cool. That's not exactly... I didn't know that there was tarot games you can play tarot games. See, I love doing the research and talking about this stuff because I always come across the most interesting things. Alright, Fungus Away. That's going to be our mushroom game. We're going to come back to that. Tarot. Tarot is a pack of playing cards used from the mid-15th century in Europe to play games. In the 18th century, some tarot packs began to be used as trend for divination via tarot card reading and cardomancy. So it was a deck even before it was used for divination. That's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm not sure this is 100% right, but I'm going to say that tarot is a form of a divination deck. It's very popular and very well known, but there are other oracle and divination decks that you can find that have different symbols, different suits, which is of particular interest to me because right now, And Then We Died is on tarot cards. Specifically the Rider-Waite art, which is public domain. And I like a lot about that style and how the cards have been done, but there's definitely something that I want to push it a little bit and see if maybe another style of divination deck. So something that feels like tarot but isn't exactly tarot, because a lot of people have preconceptions and notions about tarot that kind of like for And Then We Died, but also kind of want to play around with and see if there isn't perhaps something else. Anyway, so coming at this from a game design perspective, like, you have a whole bunch of cards, symbols, arts, a lot of it symbology, maybe even ways of laying out cards, and you're trying to create a system of divination from the cards. I mean, how crazy is that? Think about, I don't know how much y'all know about tarot. I've been researching it and learning about it for the last 6 months or so. Think about the first person who took a deck of tarot cards and was either intentionally created a system or had visions or whatever they did to create this thing that people take so seriously. Like, there's a lot of people who read tarot cards or who get their tarot cards read who have a lot of faith and investment in the results of these readings. But in the beginning, someone came up with this system, right? So it'd be cool to have that be something mechanical. It's like, I don't want to say telling a fortune, like, and for my personal perspective of tarot, I don't want to get into like philosophical, religious discussions, but I think that there is value in, especially reading your own cards or someone where you, when I've done tarot readings, there's a conversation there, and I think it can be very useful, regardless of whatever else is there, just to have these conversations and to think about your past through this lens. For me, I see it as a lens that's very useful. Observing your life through a particular lens can be very useful and very powerful. So the question for this kind of a game would be, because I think it's definitely easy to, do it in a couple different ways. You could do it in ways like, oh, we're kind of making fun of the whole thing and saying like, oh, we're like with the quacks of Quedlinburg, right? We're making these systems to try and trick people. It's definitely not the direction I would want to go into. So it would be interesting question is what kind of a direction? What's the goal for the players? Why do they want to make these systems? Make these systems, come up with a good reason. Cool. I already have some fun game ideas. Weird ones. Not sure exactly how to put these together, but feng shui, tarot, mushroom game. We haven't even gotten to Nemesis yet. Mushroom removal game. This is fungus away, right? Makes me think of the Ghostbusters, but for mushrooms. Like the mushrooms are invading. You provide a mushroom removal service for a fee, of course. I actually like that. I don't know what it is about mushrooms. There's something, it's one of the things that, we've talked about mushrooms before. I'm all over it. I'm super into it. Not sure I knew you wanted to make a mushroom game. We were talking about mushrooms. I don't know if I've specifically said I want to make a mushroom game, but I feel like I've talked about mushrooms at least once before. I know we were talking about like the puffball mushrooms and cooking them and eating them, and I went down this whole rabbit hole. Saying tarot makes me think of taro root. Game Outlet says, my coworkers noticed the significant nudity on the tarot art for And Then We Died. It briefly sidelined the storytelling as we compared naked people. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. That's so weird. Like, it's so weird. When I'm playing And Then We Died or showing it to people, I don't see the art. For better or worse, I don't know. I don't see it, which is interesting. Like, if the fact that you're saying that there's naked people in that, obviously I've gone through the art and noticed that before. But it's like, it's the tarot art. It's been around since the early 1900s. It's fine, right? It's art. It's like the Venus de Milano or whatever. But there's definitely naked people in there. Ooh. Oh, game biologist. This is actually really cool. Late 1800s, early 1900s scientific illustration of plants, animals may have a tarot adjacent feel to it without the occult. occult part. I like that too, and more public domain, because I imagine some, if not all of that, is public domain. I really do like the illustrations and the vibe to that. Because it also has kind of a spooky, creepy, medical feel to it. Originally, the tarot really leans into the idea of you are kind of divining. It is kind of like divination, but reverse divination, where you're trying to figure out what happened as opposed to what's going to happen. So the tarot vibe is not completely off, but yeah, something I want to look into and play around with. Senior Bob says there are plenty of mystical plants and animals that can go on tarot-like cards. Yeah, exactly. You see, I feel like there's just a ton of really interesting space to play around with here. Eye of Newt actually refers to a plant? What? No. No. Oh my gosh, you're blowing my mind here. No. Eye of Newt is a folk name for mustard seed Brassica nigra, while toe of frog may refer to a type of buttercup. Tongue of dog is hound's tongue Cynoglossum officinale, a plant that has some toxic properties. Wow. Oh my gosh. So this whole time, because I think oh man, I don't know if this came specifically from the witches, the Shakespearean witches. But, oh man, so when they were talking about this, like, we think, oh, they're literally cutting up animals, and that's very dark, right? But it makes more sense for it to come from a herbalist perspective, because witches were herbalists, or there was a very strong herbalism tradition that probably got wrapped into witchhood and being a witch in the negative Christian use of the term of like purging the witches. Whereas herbalism throughout human history is a very strong, powerful, medicinal thing. And in the Dark Ages, when they were, suddenly fearful of these different types of knowledge, especially the types of knowledge traditionally held by women. Wow. So it makes sense that they would kind of twist that. It makes me mad, too. I hadn't thought too much or too closely about it, but that would make sense that the herbalists or the healers would be the ones that would be called out for any witches. Like, oh, they cured my toothache. Oh, we have to burn them at the stake because they're doing witchcraft. It's like, no, they're just using this traditionally held knowledge. I feel like there's a game idea in there as well. I'm not sure exactly what, but that's really cool. I'm glad you said that. I had no idea that was... I'm going to put this link in here too. Okay, yeah, I got that. Alright, we did talk about the puffball mushrooms. I don't know, it's the same with myconids. From D&D, or the mushroom folk. Oh, mushroom folk. I googled mushroom folk magic. Oh my gosh, Tales of the Mushroom Folk. Oh yeah, this is. Oh, magic fungus, all the fungi and stuff in Magic the Gathering. The art is so adorable, and now I'm going down another rabbit hole of looking. I'm gonna bring this tab over here. Whoa, not far enough, so you can see This is, I don't know, except for this creepy one. I don't like that one. But everything else is just fascinating and compelling to me. Slimefoot the Stowaway? Is that in Legos? What? Slimefoot the Stowaway made with Legos. Okay. Nope. Distracted. Focus. Alright. Back to game design ideas. We'll get back to the mushroom one. Oh, wrong tab. Game idea first. Mushroom, fungi. Yeah, let's do a little bit of a mind mapping here. Feel free if you have any more conversations or thoughts or any of the other game ideas, inspirations we've been talking about. Keeping it very loose for today's stream, not looking for anything in particular. Just want to chat about ideas and think about things and get some cool stuff out there. I think we already have some very fascinating ideas to work off of, so super fun. Nemesis or nemesis? Senior Bob says, I've been noodling around a game about mushroom rings. Ooh, yeah, like fairy rings. For a long time, but that's more about tempting people to enter the fairy world with earthly delights. I mean, that also sounds like a super awesome game idea. Game Bob just says, I had always heard that you were only safe from the fairies when you were inside a fairy circle. Really? Huh. Yeah, I thought it was the opposite. That once you go into the circle, that's when they get you. Yeah, I think just mushrooms, fairies. I like that it's a fantasy idea, but I don't feel like there are that many fairy games. I guess Crossing has some fairy elements to it, but oh my gosh. Just like fairy rings, that was one of those just super cool things from my childhood that was fascinating and kind of scary. I don't think I ever saw a fairy ring, but I'd walk through the woods a lot, and just the idea of coming across one is very exciting. Fifth? I don't know what number we're on now. Yeah, fifth. That's a ring of salt. Obviously, this is an area in need of additional field research. Someone needs to get on a grant ASAP. Yeah. I don't know how to get grants, but someone who is involved with that needs to do this research. The people need to know about fairy rings and the folklore and history and practical applications. I think that I love it. I will vote for you if I can vote for your grant. I don't know if that's how it works, but Kanox subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much, Kanox. Really appreciate that. It says I got an emote and to thank you for the emote. So I did that. Oh my gosh, what is this? I got a snowman for the subscription. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Gameball just says we had a number of fairy rings in our backyard when I was a kid. What? You had fairy rings just right there? I'm so jealous. The place was apparently infested with fairies. Oh my gosh, that's some labyrinth level stuff you got going on there. That's a cool, unique take on fairies if ever I've seen one. Senior Bob says, so a cutesy game idea I had recently is filling a platter with oddly shaped cookies. Also amazing. All of these need to be games that I can play, because I would play all of these. I'm like, I try not to be judgmental of different types of games, but I've just played so many asymmetrical role, resource, planet mining, collection item building games. Like, I want fairy games, I want cookie games, I want more different types of themes that speak to me closely and personally. Kanak says, thanks for the game design discussion and magic drafts. You're welcome. Look, Senior Bob, you're just like a font of fantastic ideas today. Saving snowmen before they melt. That's beautiful, and also terribly tragic and sad. I feel like that is the kind of thing that, because some of them you won't save and they'll melt away and die. That's so sad. I can't handle it. All right. I was also thinking about, all right, Nemesis, cookies, fairy rings, find your nemesis, or meet, we'll say meet your nemesis, which is a good stream title, so I'm going to put that up here. Meet your nemesis. Everyone is assigned a character. Someone is your nemesis. Find out who. The nemesis for characters change every game. So I don't know exactly how you'd find out what the criteria for your nemesis is. I just see this being a really fun, light party game where you just have the you have a character that's a card, and they're not predetermined, like your nemesis wears glasses or whatever. Each game is different, so you might be someone else's nemesis if you play the game, or you will be someone else's nemesis when you play the game again. I'm thinking about it. I think it'd be a fun light game. I'm also thinking about it from a meta level, where you play this at a party or the beginning, maybe as an icebreaker, and then you have your nemesis, right? Like that person. Now you're like, I'm not your nemesis. It was a game. It was my character. It's like, no, you are my nemesis. And then the game fuels lifelong fights and secret mad scientist battles on the surface of the moon, and it's great. Secret layers of mad scientist battles on the moon. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. I'll remember what it means. Probably not. It's like, that's what a nemesis is. Villain, supervillain, and superhero. Except I don't really want it to be supervillain versus superhero. I like games like this where they're all supervillains, because if like the whole nemesis thing, really, it's like if you're a superhero, you don't set out to destroy someone. There is this idea of a nemesis. Is there someone you want to see take a fall, right? Like this person, you want bad things to happen to them in life. Which, coming back to the beginning of the conversation and me saying that I wanted a nemesis, I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone. Mostly what I want from having a nemesis is just seeing them. It's like, you're my nemesis. You will rue the day. More the trappings of nemesishood. You just want all the funny phrases and things that go along with it, none of the actual consequences. Alright, anyways, a little bit about potential mechanics for this game. Oh, man. I'm seeing trading cards. It's actually feeling a little bit like some of my ideas around have you had enough cheese? I'll put that in parentheses as a reminder. Trading cards, asking questions, guess who style. So you don't reveal the character. You might get your card and then a nemesis description card. Or maybe you get, maybe there's 2 of each card. And you get your character card and a nemesis character card. So the matchups are always different. And you have both of the cards, but then you have to ask questions. You can only ask certain types of questions. Who people are. So you're more trying to figure out who other people are as opposed to who is your nemesis, because you know from the beginning of the game who that is. Okay. Not sure that's exactly the direction that I want to go into, but there's some interesting stuff there. It's like guess who also like similar to Dinosaur Tea Party, which is a surprisingly fun and interesting game that you should check out. It's got some elements of what we're talking about here. Frosty the Snowman is either horrible and sad as he chirpily sings about his own death, or it's a passion play about how he will be risen after his death. Dang, those are some next level analyses of this cheerful children's work. A lot of game ideas seem cute on the surface, but have dark implications. Yeah, just like a lot of movies, if you really think about their contents, you're like, wow, that is super messed up. Check out the rules of Assassin. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, that's a good point. I played a version of Assassin in college with squirt guns, and it got real intense. I got very much into it. It was kind of a problem because that's what I was doing. I wasn't studying or anything. I was just like hiding in trees waiting for people. So it really tapped into my game mentality. Worst first day at a new job. A new coworker walks up to you and declares you are now their nemesis. Maybe because they wanted your position. I love it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like when people say that they're your nemesis. I don't know. I don't think anyone really takes it seriously. Maybe some people do. Kimela says, so you want to play Schoolyard Nemesis, where the consequences are scaled for humor rather than hurt. Yeah. I guess maybe I wasn't super clear about the me wanting a nemesis. I don't want to hate someone. I don't want anything bad to happen to people. I just like saying that someone's my nemesis. Office nemesis. Canuck says, maybe have phases for the game. Initial phase, you start off without a nemesis. Ooh, yeah, I like that. I like that. That's real good. Okay. Because that's definitely leaning more into what I was thinking about, is that you develop a nemesis hood for someone. Develop your nemesisosity. What is the term for what is the word for the state of having a nemesis? I'll figure that out. Your nemesisosity towards a person over the course of the game. And then when a certain state is triggered, you can declare, I found my nemesis. Found my nemesis. Woo. During the first phase, the mechanics of the game help organically define. Yeah, you're a cat. Yes, you're very helpful. The mechanics of the game help organically define who your nemesis is. I like that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna come down there and grab you. You're gonna be sad. As soon as I start backing my chair out, I don't know if you've been able to see his paws poking me, but he's like, he knows he's in trouble. Your nemesis must be of comparable levels. Levels. Yeah. Second phase has nemesis assigned to the players, and thus the nemesisity. Nemesis, you're right. Your level of nemesisity with someone. Okay. Thus the mechanics shift to an end game based on interactions with your nemesis. I like where this is going. So there's the like a building up phase. Just a mechanical shorthand for what this might be like. Your actions could be gaining nemesis points or whatever with someone. Once you reach a threshold, you enter a nemesis state. And there's an end game to it. Okay. Got me thinking of the movies Mystery Men and Unbreakable. Whenever I'm talking about this idea, I always think about Venture Brothers. This is Venture Brothers. It's a lot to watch if you haven't already committed to it, but it's got probably the best description of a nemesis arc. I can't even talk about it because I would inevitably accidentally spoil something, because there's so much back and forth and so many reveals in that show. But the way that they talk about nemesis, there's just like a whole systemization of the concept of nemesis and heroes and villains, and it's fabulous. It's a really good show. Game Elder says, use cards to assign pet peeves. Ooh, yes. So as we're talking about your nemesis points, pet peeves. Yes, and that fits in too, because it's not nemesis hood, like anything that's actually bad. There's just things, little things that annoy you building up until you declare. And this falls in line too what I'm saying about someone parking in my space. You know, they haven't done anything actually to hurt me. It's just a little pet peeve. It's very much in line with what I was thinking of. It's great. VB4L, Venture Brothers for Life. Heck yeah, I gotta watch the new stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I think I missed like a whole season or 2 seasons. There's just so much of it. Oh, okay. Pet peeves, the first person in the room to do the pet peeve, so things that people are actually doing. Becomes your nemesis whether they realize it or not. Scratching an itch annoys you. The first person to scratch their nose is now your nemesis. Okay. That's a little different direction. I actually like that too. I'm going to make multiple nemesis games. I'm going to have a whole line of nemesisosity. Nemesicity. Which mushroom is your nemesis? I love Senior Bob's combining. Best of all worlds is great. Knex says, maybe interactions during the first phase of the game build your nemesicity towards multiple players. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Yeah, because there's potential, because you don't know who is your nemesis, because in the beginning, anyone could be your nemesis. Nemesicity should be a movie. Which mushroom is your nemesis? I don't know, they're all so cute though. I don't know, I never met a mushroom that I didn't like. I don't know if a mushroom could be my nemesis. Sadie Rob says, I saw one episode of Venture Brothers and thought it was pretty good riff on Johnny Quest. Yeah, I never actually saw Johnny Quest. I mostly was forced to watch Venture Brothers because that's where we were watching as a group. So I didn't know too much about it going in. But like with most shows that I end up watching with people, I enjoy them once I've gotten into it. Game about it sounds like a button shy game for the button shy contest. Knex says, I'm thinking of examples of how to build to a state of nemesicity and create interesting decisions and trade-offs. Yeah, there's a lot of good framework here. Some of the details, it could go in different directions. It could be more of a social deduction, conversational game, hidden goals, hidden information, bargaining game. Or it could be more of a mechanical game where people are doing stuff. So you can do it literal, like having a pet peeve and someone does the thing. Someone gets a cup from the cupboard or something. I don't want to keep it fairly innocuous because you can really get into some territory like someone burps and now they're your nemesis, and that people can feel a little weird about some of those things. But yeah, so you can do literal pet peeves, or you could have like a pet peeve board. You're building up tokens, resources. I haven't actually played Fog of Love, which I should, because it would make it easier to reference. But I know Fog of Love has the different pots where you're trading things. I'm trying to remember. You're moving like an emotional dichotomy, basically, where it's like we're we have a synergistic relationship or an antagonistic relationship, and you're moving resources back and forth. So there could be a fog of love, resource allocation. It's a good way for mechanizing emotional connections. Example in a game like Risk would be that if you attack a piece of land occupied by an opponent, you would generate those points. Yeah. I mean, that's a cool idea too, because that, oh my gosh, oops. That plays around with actual things you do in game that make you, the kinds of actions you would take in a game that would make me say, like, oh, you're my nemesis now that you've destroyed my troops. But actually mechanizing that could be a fun thing. And that could be the whole game, is that nemesis part. Antagonistic behavior. Weaponizing your nemesicity. And it says the player you attacked would now have more points towards becoming your nemesis, which maybe gives them an advantage towards you in certain ways or disadvantage in others. Once they become a nemesis. And this brings up an interesting question of the reciprocity of nemesicity. I hope I remember what all these terms mean, because this is a little crazy. Because you would want it to be somewhat reciprocal. Is it just when I declare you're a nemesis, we're both nemesis? It'd be fun to lean into that mechanically, where there's both people have to contribute to the state of being a nemesis. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. Gameologist says, Senior Bob, thanks for the button shy idea. I've been trying to think of a tiny game I could make instead of a Christmas card for next year. A silly holiday nemesis thing would be fun for tense family dinners. Oh my gosh, I love that. My friend Chad Martinell, Chad and Jan Martinell, they made a postcard that was a holiday card and also a game. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it's a really cool idea, and I think it's an excellent game. Excellent holiday idea for a game designer. I think I have some special design considerations for, especially if you're a hobbyist gamer, making sure it's something that's very accessible. Still want to playtest and stuff, but yeah, that's such a good idea. I love it. Your nemesis is the person in the room with brightly colored hair. Hey, I feel called out. I don't want to be a nemesis. Kenai says, maybe you try to make decisions in the game that will move you away from having one nemesis and try to get someone else to be your nemesis. Yeah. Like manipulation. Nemesis state manipulation. Trying to get the right person to be your nemesis, get points for getting a certain nemesis. Some are better than others. Give me one sec. Alright, Nemesis. You could get 5 completely different games and try and apply a framework to see if there is a type that lends itself to something like this. Yeah. It could be a system or a component within another game, which I like. Instead of having to design the base from scratch. Best quote so far. This brings up a good point in the reciprocity of nemesicity, right? This is what we're here for. Can nemesicity be one-sided? That's the question, right? Like, I feel you're co-nemeses. I feel it's always a reciprocal thing. I don't think it can be one-sided. It could be fun to explore both, though. Oh my gosh. Where is the reciprocity? Yeah. Try both. Being reciprocal or a one-sided nemesis. Because that is a thing in media where it's actually a very funny and fun thing to riff off of and play around with. That it's like, you're my nemesis. I'm like, I don't really want to be involved in this. I don't want to be your nemesis. Like, well, you are my nemesis, and now you're going to have to deal with that. Ooh, can you only have one nemesis or multiple nemeses? That's a very good question. Maybe you get more points for more... Ooh. More points for more nemeses, or fewer points. Maybe there's an inflection point where you have too many nemeses, and now you have to, yeah, and now you get very few points. Maybe one nemesis is good, 2 is better, 3 is the worst, or whatever, some arbitrary numbers in there. Make someone else a bigger nemesis to your nemesis. The circularity of nemesicity, too, in conjunction with the reciprocity. Nemesicity. You start to know during the game who is nemesis with who. Manipulating other people's nemesis states. Maybe you can send something to someone from someone else. So we're talking about nemesis and kind of a supervillain thing here, but it also makes me think of kids. We were talking about schoolyard nemesis, but the frenemy thing. It's managing relationships, which I think is very interesting. There could be a few potential themes in here. Managing relationships. Manipulating relationships. Which is another thing I don't think has been explored nearly enough in game design. Makes me think a fun Nemesis game needs enough people in it, and with larger numbers it might be good to lean into games that engage people during everyone's turn. Yeah, it's a good question. I think if it's more mechanical, you could potentially do a lower player count Nemesis game. I could see it going either way. I think the vision I had for it would be something bigger, maybe even on the scale of 2 rooms and a boom. For example, Machikoro does a good job of engaging you during other players' turns. Yeah, absolutely. I think if it was an information manipulation game, hidden information manipulation game, each person engaging with multiple people, so you wouldn't, or multiple one-on-ones at the same time. You definitely wouldn't want to have one person sitting there for a while not doing anything, because this would be definitely want to be a fast-paced sort of game. Polynemesicity. Yes, that's a good term. Terminology is important. Going to your comment earlier, is it good to have lots of nemesis during the second phase of the game, or do you want none? You could have goals that emphasize more being good or less being good. I mean, I don't know about like not having any nemesis, but maybe it's really easy to get a nemesis, and maybe an alternate win condition could be no nemesis. This ties into if you are developing your nemesis and there's an end game, what happens after you have your nemesis? If you eliminate your nemesis, do you gain their nemesis? Nemesisception, if you will. Oh my gosh, yes. Whew. Oh man, this has been intense. Alright, I'm going to take a few more notes and a few more suggestions. I think there's lots of awesome and fun stuff for this game design idea. I didn't even do that much of a brainstorm. We went right into fleshing out this idea of a nemesis game. I think there's a lot of fun directions that this game could go into. Yeah, I'm going to take down a few more of these notes, and then I'm going to hop off a little early today. I got some stuff to do before I go out in the night, celebrate, ring in the new year. Probably eat some more food. I just had a quick snack, but eating is good. Dinner is good. Yeah, so let's see what else is here. Just want to give you a heads up that I'll be popping off in a couple of minutes. Canucks had said, another thought building on Bob's comment about bigger nemesis. Can you, makes me think of a bigger fish. Big fish eat bigger fish. Small fish eat bigger fish. No, big fish eat smaller fish. Another thought building, can you do things to create situations to directly manipulate the game through the mechanics to cause someone to become another player's nemesis? Yeah. So this is a little less back and forth and more round robin, where you have multiple strings of relationships that are all connecting together. Threads makes more sense. Multiple threads of relationships that are all connecting back together. Or are you just a horrible bad-tempered grump itching to find your own festering dissatisfaction with someone new? Oh my gosh. A lot of good words there. Itching and festering. There's always another nemesis to be found for a determined grumpus. Win condition. Everyone is your nemesis. I love it. It's great. Everyone. If you're a newly graduated Jedi, how soon before you find your nemesis? Is this a joke? Is there a punchline in there? It feels like there should be a punchline. I feel like you don't even have to graduate, right? It seems more like you just find out that you have the Force. Like, you don't even know what the Force is. Like, you hear about, oh, there's this thing that's inside you, and now you can swing a lightsaber, and all of a sudden it's like, Nemesis. Like, just instantly. That's, you don't even get to graduate. You don't even get to start school most of the time. Yeah. The rate on that's pretty bad. Canuck says, I came in halfway through, just realized it was supposed to be a brainstorm. Fun either way. No, not at all. Usually, we're very open for this on the channel. Sometimes we do brainstorm, come with a lot of different ideas. Usually towards the end, we do hone in on one idea and focus and see where we can develop that, because the intention is to eventually have things come together into a design that can be created, because often with thematic or slightly mechanical ideas, you have like, oh, what if it was a mushroom Ghostbusters mushroom removal game? And it sounds like a really cool idea, but there's a lot of work that has to go into that to make it a polished idea that you can make a prototype off of. With this Nemesis game, got a lot of really good stuff. The core mechanics is definitely something I have to play around with a little bit. See, from what we've discussed today, is a couple directions. Go a little more mechanical, a little less mechanical. Play around with some of the thoughts in there and see what we come up with, because I think there's some good stuff in here. I think come up with a lot of different ideas. Not every idea, I want to make every idea. It's hard. Not every idea gets past the drawing board stage, but I think we got some good stuff to work with here. Oh my gosh. Looking forward to kickstarting Nemesicity by Emma Larkins in 2021. Oh my gosh. I don't think I could use Nemesicity. But nobody's gonna understand. Nobody outside of this group of people is gonna have any idea what that means. So you're about, why did Draco Malfoy decide to appoint himself nemesis of Harry Potter? I don't know. Is this a joke? I never know if it's a joke. I'm gullible, so I'm like, I don't know why he did it. Is there a punchline? I feel like there's something coming. Harry Potter. Something about pottery? I don't know. I'm not good at jokes. I don't know if there's a punchline there. Or if you're actually asking, it's like, what did he ever do? Because that's a good question, right? Like, why? It was like, why are you so mad at me? Because he didn't join Slytherin? Because, I don't know. I forget. It's a good question. You might have to hit me up on Twitter for that. No joke, just making an observation. No, I thought there was going to be a punchline there. Now I got to make a joke. I know, right? It's just this. You see, this is an important observation, because this really feeds into the whole nemesis thing. Often there isn't a great reason. Like, is there ever a good reason for a nemesis situation? I feel like most of the times when we see someone being a nemesis in media, there's like, but why? What did they ever do to you? It's just like, oh, you're my nemesis because you're the supervillain and I'm the good guy, so naturally. Why do we fight? Draco's perception of Potter was reality. Oh, it's deep. It's real deep. Maybe you got the card. Your nemesis has a lightning scar. Yeah. Alright. On that note, I'm gonna tie it up. Finish it up for the night. Had a real good chat about nemesis ideas. Sometimes I think a nemesis is legitimate in stories, but other times it's because someone has a poor perception of someone else in the situation. Ooh, that I'm gonna write that down as a note because I think that could feed in too. Because it's rarely about as much about what is actually happening than the perception of what's happening. Bye, Oliver. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. So much fun to have you all today. Thanks for popping into my stream. It's been a little while, so I think I might be a little rusty, but it feels good being back here, back on stream. Should be back on Thursday as well. I don't think there's anything standing in the way of my Thursday magic stream, so it'll be fun. I always appreciate having you all here, making some games, coming up with new ideas, and I will see you in the new year, right? It's crazy. See you in 2020. I can't even process that. Hope you all have a great New Year's Eve and a happy new year, and I will see you and talk with you soon.